Gut check.
Okay, look. I intended to make this like 2 months ago, but I had to get that Sonic Frontiers video out first. Now, Sonic Superstars launches in, well, if I'm writing this on September 28th, then just under 3 weeks? Still, there was some interest in knowing what my expectations are, so I figured we could do a short, quick video and cover those. Because the current plan is to use my Twitch earnings to buy Superstars, and part of that game is already paid for using my Throne Gifts page. Which, by the way, throne.com/blazehedgehog if you'd like to help crowdfund either new games or even better hardware to make videos with. It's a little cluttered with stuff, but it's all sorted into categories for easy viewing. Anyway, Sonic Superstars. As you probably know by now, it's a new 2D classic Sonic-styled game that's sort of being treated as our stand-in for Sonic Mania 2. Apparently, Evening Star Studios, the original developers of Sonic Mania, couldn't come to an agreement with Sega over what to do with Sonic Mania 2, so they split off to do their own game called Penny's Big Break. And for the record, I don't blame them there. Sonic Mania was a huge game. Definitely in the running for the biggest Sonic game ever made, and I am even on record saying that Sonic Mania might actually be too much game. And I may not love Sonic Mania in the way that most people do, but I do think it represents the ultimate form of that idea. You kinda can't just do bigger, better Sonic Mania, you know? A sequel would have to be something completely different, and when it comes to how Sega treats Sonic versus what other people want out of Sonic, well, those two things aren't always the same. Thankfully, it sounds like there's no bad blood between Sega and Evening Star, and for what it's worth, Penny's Big Break looks fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Instead, Sonic Superstars brings back Naoto Oshima, Sonic's original character designer and the director of both Sonic CD and Nights into Dreams. Oshima had apparently been pressing Sonic Team's Takashi Iizuka about doing a new classic Sonic game after they began hanging out and chatting on voice calls during the pandemic lockdown. And even though Evening Star Studios isn't involved, Christian Whitehead has confirmed that Sonic Mania's control systems were used as a base for Sonic Superstars. This is notable because before Sonic Mania, every time Sega tried to do a classic Sonic game, they could never get it to feel right. At best, you got something like Sonic Generations, which tries to hide the poor controls in places where the game is scripted to play itself. At worst, you got something like Sonic 4, a game that is stiff, awkward, and just plain ugly. So we have one of the original Sonic developers who helped start the franchise in the 90s with proven technology that makes sure it controls exactly the way it should. Seems like a recipe for success, right? And yeah, for the most part. Sonic Superstars looks like it might actually understand what is cool about those old Sonic games, and maybe even expand upon them a bit. All it took was Sega bringing back one of the OGs, apparently. Though, you probably know what's coming next. The but. But I still can't shake the Sonic 4 vibes. Just a little bit. Early gameplay videos even straight up reuse Sonic 4 music, making the feeling even worse. The thing about Sonic Superstars is that the game is kinda ugly. It has the look of a $10 Xbox Live Arcade game from 2009, but they're selling it on a disc for close to full price. The biggest issue for me is the lighting. This is gonna get into the weeds a little bit on some technical terms, so bear with me for a minute. So I want you to look at this screenshot from Sonic Superstars and now answer one simple question. Where is the light coming from in this image? I mean, obviously the sun, but where is the sun? Where in the image is it shining from? If we look at Sonic, it would appear that the sun is kinda to the right and slightly in the background. It is shining down onto his head, casting a shadow towards the camera. But look at the shadow on the ground under Sonic. It's a little hard to tell, but this suggests that the sun is actually directly above Sonic, but slightly to the left, because the shadow is down here, in kind of the opposite direction from where Sonic himself is being lit from. Now, let's look at the environment. If we scroll up here to these rocks, we can see that they're being lit from both the left and right sides at the same time, which is pretty weird and doesn't match either of the previous positions of the sun that we established earlier with Sonic. If we come down here, we can also see that there's light shining up from underneath the ground to illuminate the rocks under this archway. If the sun is up above Sonic, then where is this light coming from? Some of the more artistically savvy among you might say that it's light coming down and being reflected upwards off the ground. If that was true, I don't think the grass here would enter shadows so dark that the green turns to solid black. To get to the point, the lighting in Sonic Superstars looks awful because none of it makes any sense. Even if you don't think it bothers you, if you really pay attention and think about how the properties of light work, even a subconscious part of your brain probably notices that something looks a little weird. What's being employed here is a technique known as rim lighting. Now, rim lighting is a real thing that comes from professional photography, and it's used to highlight a subject so that they don't blend into the background so easily. But to use rim lighting in photography takes careful, meticulous placement of light in order to outline the right parts of an object. Sonic Superstars employs a basic, fake, low-quality version of this effect that outlines everything in weird directions, breaking the rules of how real light is supposed to work. It's the kind of effect that was most common 15 years ago on a console like the Nintendo Wii. There, games like Super Mario Galaxy used rim lighting to make platforms pop out from the dark void of space. Now, Super Mario Galaxy used the effect properly, and in stages where the sun was bright and shining, there was no rim light to be seen. And yet, rim lighting became this hallmark of a certain era of WiiWare and Xbox Live Indie games, like a simple little button that developers could push called Give Good Graphics. And they pushed it over and over and over and over and over and over, giving untold numbers of low-budget, low-effort games this greasy, shiny, glowing halo around everything. Now it's back again in Sonic Superstars, where it still looks as cheap and ugly as ever. But okay, sure, the lighting looks weird and kinda dated, but the gameplay is what matters, right? And yeah, actually, I like what we've seen of Sonic Superstars gameplay. Levels seem to flow together very well, and I think the idea of tying Chaos Emeralds to special abilities could be interesting. Gives you more of a reason to collect all of the emeralds than to just change the ending or unlock Supersonic. There was even a time way back in the day where I was making a pretty infamous fan game that tied unlocking special abilities to collecting Chaos Emeralds. So, of course I think it's a good idea. And it's nice to see classic Sonic's gameplay evolve. Coming from the Sonic fan gaming community and from Sonic Mania itself, it's nice to see some actual new, fresher ideas again instead of just mixing up known concepts. Sure, Sonic games have had a lot of Carnival and Pinball levels, but at least this isn't literally just Carnival Night Zone again. It's something a little bit different, and I can appreciate that. But there's a part of me that, way back in my head, is still a little worried. I've played almost every Sonic game ever released. I've been here for the entire duration of the franchise. I've watched it grow, evolve, rise, and fall. From 1991 to 2023, I have seen everything. And the thing I sometimes think about is how so few of the original Sonic development team found real success outside of Sega. Some of them didn't do too badly. In particular, Hirokazu Yasuhara worked for Naughty Dog on the Jak and Uncharted games before joining Namco, and eventually even Nintendo. But none of them ever reached anywhere near the rockstar highs of those first few Sonic games. Naoto Oshima's two game development studios, Artoon and Arzest, have track records for games that are often middling at best. Sure, games like Blinx the Time Sweeper had interesting ideas at their core, but their history is clogged with forgettable games like Pinobi or stinkers like Vampire Rain. Maybe their biggest claim to fame was partnering with Nintendo for several deeply mediocre Yoshi's Island sequels, which is to say nothing of what became of Balan Wonderland. Wait, Wonderland? Wonderworld. Balan Wonderworld. Whatever. So even though I think Sonic Superstars looks like it could actually be pretty fun, there's always going to be this nagging part in the back of my head. The part that remembers what classic Sonic was like outside of Sonic Mania. The part that remembers utterly boring games like Yoshi's New Island. The part that wonders if corners are already being cut with the weirdly shiny, greasy visuals. The part that knows preview videos are just advertisements designed to show you the best parts of a game in the hopes that it'll make you buy it. And no matter how positive I feel about Sonic Superstars, that part of me is just waiting for the other shoe to drop, because that part of me has been here before. But will the other shoe actually drop this time? We won't know until the game is out. And that's the end of the video. A very quick one. Pretty nice for a change, honestly. And now I'm wondering about the format of these gut check videos. Do you like the faster, more knee-jerk first reaction kind of stuff? Or do you like it when I can sum up a more complete version of my pre-release thoughts like this? It's hard to find a lull in coverage sometimes where I feel like I can do a proper gut check. Like back last year with the Sonic Frontiers video, I was trying to do that during a time where news about the game was constantly breaking for like weeks. Now we're in sort of a calm before the storm with Sonic Superstars where it's right before release, so I don't have to worry so much about the story changing out from under me. Shoutouts to my $5 and up Patreon supporters: Edboy, Gadget Feather, Jet Set Set, Dragon, K-Loss, Keith Stack, Mark Bradshaw, Melko Driggs, Sam Bean, Setsune Wave, Sofox, Spitfire, and this dorky guy. Inch by inch I am moving forward, and I couldn't do it without the support of my Patreon donors at all tiers. To everyone that has supported me, past, present, and future, thank you. $2 and up Patreon donors get early access to videos, a special Cool Kids Club channel in the Discord, and the ability to vote on polls for upcoming videos. Actually, I just recently put up a new poll about how to handle an upcoming series that I've been mulling over for the last couple years. Short video means short credits. Even though this probably won't be out until October, I'm off to go try out the new Sonic Frontiers DLC. I've probably already streamed that on my Twitch channel, actually. Check the Game Dump for the VOD. Maybe I'll do a proper video about it soon, too. I wouldn't know. I haven't... As of this recording, I haven't played it yet. See you next time.